Welcome back, everybody. This is Zen. You know how I do it. I'd like to thank the gaming community for their love, messages, comments, and support. I really appreciate it. It's time to dive right into the NBA 2K9 video tutorials. This time around, it's going to be more over gameplay, strategy, and a defensive focus. The NBA 2K8 video tutorials were mostly centered around the offensive side of the ball, and those tutorials translate directly into 2K9 with no problem. So if you'd like to know more about offensive tips, then refer back to the NBA 2K8 tutorials. But the NBA 2K9 video tutorials are concentrating on strategy, defense, and a little offense along the way. Through the course of the NBA 2K9 video tutorials, you'll notice that I leave certain sections and subjects open. What I'll do is talk about a subject, show a couple of how-tos here and there, a little in-game play of that subject, and then leave it open. It's like I started writing a book, drop the pen in the latter part of the book, and then you pick up the pen and finish the book. This should provide a more fun and interesting gaming experience because you'll be explained the tips, be shown the tips, and then you take those same tips, finish them, and go from there. Hopefully to find something new and or form your own unique style of play from what you've seen in the tutorials combined with what you already know. Also, just a little side note, during in-game explanations, don't worry about the score or the quarter. In order to get a lot of defensive possessions, I just had to cross half court and jack up shots simply because it's hard to simulate defense due to the CPU being so random at times, but it all worked out. So enjoy the videos, let's have fun, and thanks for tuning in. In the NBA 2K8 video tutorials, a lot of things went from going from the very basic to more advanced tips and hints. This time around in the 2K9 video tutorials, there won't be a lot of things that are involving basics simply because they're already implemented in the game. If you go to game modes, practice, tutorials, you end up in the practice facility of the team that you choose. If you hit start, you'll come to this pause screen and you go to the tutorials, and there they are. 2K Sports did a really good job of implementing these inside of the game. They're very easy to follow. Once you get through a section, then you go on to the next one. The next set of things to do will show up. You perform them, you practice them, you get better at them. And as you can see here, once you get finished with a section, there's a check mark, and it goes from movement and shooting to off-ball control. So this is a very good tool to use if you're trying to figure out how to do a move, trying to learn how to do a pass or defend something a certain way, you know, because it gives you a general idea and a specific how-to do each one of these tutorials. So this is a very good tool to use whether you're a beginner or an advanced player / vet in NBA 2K9. Another thing I'd like to go over before any in-game play would be attributes. Attributes matter a ton in this game. When the game first came out, a lot of people were frustrated, especially on the defensive end, because the CPU was so efficient, especially on the higher difficulties of the game, and it seemed like that your defense, the user control defense, was just horrid. But it has something to do, not only defense, but what each player does and how they perform and how they react. It has to do something with their attributes. If you look here, let's just go with something like on-ball defense. If you notice that Brandon Roy has a good on-ball defense rating of 82. His strength is very good at 79. So if you were to put him on a good offensive player that has less strength or equal strength, Brandon Roy will be able to guard and handle that person very well. However, if you put Rudy Fernandez on that same player, he will be bullied a little bit because of his strength rating, especially if the offensive person has a higher strength rating and his defense, his on-ball defense isn't as high. So he will be easier to get around than having Brandon Roy on that same person. The higher defensive rating, the easier it is for that player to keep up with that offensive player, to always be where he is, to always counter his offensive moves with lock-on defense. The lower it is, the easier it is for that offensive player to make one or two moves. And yeah, you may counter it with lock-on defense, but that guy's offensive ball handling and offensive skills will pretty much overpower this 70 defensive rating of Rudy Fernandez. Not to say that it's going to happen all the time. If you have Rudy Fernandez on Kobe Bryant, that doesn't mean that Kobe's going to score every single time. However, it does mean that Kobe Bryant has an outrageous amount of advantage on offense because his offensive skills are so much higher than Rudy Fernandez's defensive ratings, so he does have a huge advantage. So when we're going through these tutorials, when I mention this and that or something about defense and then refer to their attributes or refer to something that's going on with that particular defensive play or with that team, always refer back to their attributes and see, get the best matchups and see where your team has a weakness, especially on defense. So you can either hide that or disguise it or make an adjustment so that your defense can have a better chance at stopping the offense and getting a rebound, a turnover, and converting on the opposite end. Now notice this help side defense by the computer. Like I say, according to their attributes, they'll do this sometimes. Brook Lopez has been doing great this season. The 2K Insider is bumping up his attributes all the time, and one thing they're bumping up is his defense. And once he sees this ball pass, he just breaks for it, and I'm not even controlling him. He just breaks for it, jumps in the middle, and gets a steal. So this is another example of where attributes matter. Let's see what the Raptors try to pull here. Now, once again, this is where attributes matter. And I'm going to continually repeat this because attributes are a huge thing on this game. If your team or if a player is not doing this or not doing that, check their attributes on what they're not doing right, because if they're too low, then of course they won't be able to recognize things, especially defensively. Now what's going to happen here is Calderon's going to make a pass to Shawn Marion. I'm not sure why Tayshaun Prince didn't get this, but Rasheed Wallace breaks for this ball because his attributes are good enough and his awareness is good enough to actually do that. Let's see what happens here. Oh, Rasheed Wallace is playing some crazy defense. Because Rasheed Wallace is such a good defender, one of the best low post defenders in the game, he actually went for this steal. Look at that. He's right in the passing lane. He gets in the passing lane. He gets the ball, and now we're off to the races. It's Stuckey and the goal. And you know what happens after that? And, of course, Rasheed Wallace is like, yeah, baby, I got your back. All right. Whew. Almost got us there. Good help there. Good help.